Very good morning. This is Kusile Breakfast Show. Thank you for tuning in this morning. It is the 6th of November. We are close to concluding the year 2025. My name is Lungelele Makakula. We are live on our YouTube page, Eswatini TV, and also on DSTV channel 286. Very good morning and welcome to the program. Nguni, how are you this morning?
Doing all right. Just, wasn't expecting the outside to be as foggy as it is.
It's very cold
today.
today.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
It's cold and it's foggy, and it seems as if it's going to continue and permeate into the next day. 16 degrees Celsius tomorrow. That will be the maximum or the highest temperature in the Highveld. So we are expecting another cold day. It's been a series of a very confused weather condition in the kingdom of Eswatini. So you do want to just carry that jersey, even if you feel like it's going to be hot outside. Just make sure you have it on with you, just in case it starts raining or it's the temperatures drop dramatically. Outside of that, good morning indeed. Welcome to the program. Thank you for choosing to wake up with us here on Eswatini TV. We're coming to you live from Mbabane in one of our studios here in Mbabane.
Yeah, that's right. Once again, good morning and thank you for tuning in. We always bring you the latest developments happening in the country. Today we'll be joined by the veterinary officer in the Ministry of Agriculture, Dr. Tembi Ndlangamandla. You will recall that there was an outbreak of a foot and mouth disease in May 2025, and therefore the livestock sector in Eswatini is under pressure as outbreaks of foot and mouth disease continue to spread across the country. The disease has recently spread to Malinza, Mpaga and Sikupe in the Lubombo region. Since the first reported case on May 12th in the Kusile region, the disease has spread rapidly across multiple deep tanks in affected zones. Tembi Ndlangamandla will give us an update today and give us just a situation analysis on what's happening on the ground, as well as give us possible solutions or strategies by the Ministry of Agriculture.
Very important conversation as we continue to have the conversation around food security as well as agriculture business in the kingdom of Eswatini. Looking forward to that conversation, but also we want to look at this very climate here in Eswatini where liquidity remains tight and access to affordable capital continues to constrain the pace of growth for many local enterprises. Now, the conversation around innovative financing instruments has never been more urgent. Across the kingdom, we've seen small and medium enterprises struggle to scale operations, not because they lack demand, but because cash flow gaps limit their ability to meet the demand. Now, the strain then trickles through the supply chain, delaying payments, slowing productivity, and ultimately stifling growth. But the question becomes, what if there was a smarter way to bridge that gap? A mechanism that strengthens the relationship between buyers and suppliers, improves working capital, and injects efficiency into how business is done. That is where supply chain financing comes in, a solution that is already transforming markets elsewhere and now being introduced locally through African Alliance. This morning, we are joined by Victor Langa, the General Manager for Asset Management at African Alliance, who recently presented at the Mbabane Smart City Masterclass on how financial institutions and how asset managers can unlock capital flows through innovative structures like supply chain finance. So we'll explore what supply chain finance is and why it matters for Eswatini right now, and how it could rewire the country's economic arteries by supporting local businesses in real time. That conversation this morning at 7:30, so stay tuned for that. It's 3 minutes after 6. Thank you for staying with us.
Yeah, for now, let's quickly take a look at today's newspaper headlines. All right, starting with the Eswatini Observer, leading stories today. Leaked audios, Alpheus's groveling apology. He acknowledges that statements he made in the leaked audios are not only unpalatable, offensive, but also in a bad taste. And in other news, MTN Eswatini Acting Chief Executive Officer Jerry Soko, seen there in the picture with Information Communications and Technology Minister Savannah Mazia during the latest digital campaign Fagi Vibe launch yesterday at MTN headquarters. In other news, MPs are stressed, and this is according to the Speaker of the House.
Yeah, one day I really want to understand the difference between leaked and published. But we go on, we look at the back end of the Observer, and here we find stories, and the top one is Green Mamba Taste Sweet Revenge as Pupu strikes. That is Banele Sikonze, the new Chinese debut goal that has sent Nsingizini crashing in the first defeat of the season in a clash that happened yesterday. In other stories, Eswatini back in CAF School Showdown, while 10,000 Emalangeni bursary for best player, and Dr. Comfort warns against doping.
Right, moving on to the Eswatini Daily News leading stories this Thursday. Eswatini Tourism Authority launches the 2025 festive season campaign. And in other news, clear your deaths with Utula Tula, Speaker tells members of Parliament. And the HMCS officers have praised the King after the release of 12 inmates.
The back end of the Eswatini Daily News, the top story, Pupu again. Mamba poisons Singizini as former Eswatini international Banele Pupu Sikonze nets winner as Green Mamba inflict first loss to defending champions Singizini Hotspurs at home. In another one, King Dunga parts ways with Wanderers, while Owadu begs Betway Premiership Award.
Right, and that's it for newspaper headlines. It's 6 minutes after 6. We go for an ad break. Sibuya Tintaba Desiswati.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Sibonge ukuthi nathi ehlelweni nathi indzaba indlovukazi Mhlekazi ibuyile ekhaya ngemuva kweluhambo lwayo indlovu yemhlaba lebelibheke even le-United Arab Emirates. Mhlekazi abeke awuqinisa aphinze andlondlobalise buhlobo lobukhona emkhathini kwelive leSwatini nelive lase-United Arab Emirates.
Indlovu yemhlaba inyathele esikhumulweni setindiza iKing Mswati the Third International Airport lapho sive siphume ngebuningi baso kutawukwemukela Mhlekazi. Sive sikhombise saphindze savakalisa inhlokoto kwemukela Mhlekazi ekhaya. Indlovu yemhlaba ibuye ekhaya ngemuva ukuthi luhambo lwayo lufike emaphethelweni. Indlovukazi beyikade elibhekise eveni le-United Arab Emirates kuyawuqinisa nengidlondlobalisa buhlobo ekhathi kwelaseSwatini nalela live. Live le-United Arab Emirates lingulelinye lemave elinebuhlobo lobuhle nelive leSwatini ikakhulukati etinhlelweni tetentutfuko njengoba lamave anetivumelwano letikhona tekubambisana kulokuningi. Etintabeni kubika Pholile Mazia anazweli masuku esikhumulweni setindiza iKing Mswati the Third International Airport.
Inkonyama Mswati wesithathu seyinikete insaya emavela njengile kanye netinhlangano takamhlaba kutsi tisekele emave lafakwe ngilamanye pheceleti ema-landlocked countries kanye nemave lasathutfuka kufaka ekhatsi lakangwane kute-ke akhone kubhekana netinsaya lebhekene nato letifaka ekhatsi kutsi kuvuleke timakethe kute lamave atsengise imikhicito yawo kanye nekwesekela tinhlelo tekutfutfukisa tebuchwephesha. Inkonyama ikusho lokhu emhlanganweni wakamhlaba lochubekako edolobheni leDoha eveni leQatar kanti-ke inkulumo yesilo yetfulwe liphini landvunankhulu umhlonishwa Kusile.
Balinganiselwa kulokhu 15 ekhulwini bantu labakhubatekile emhlabeni nabo-ke bathiniseka kakhulu nakuvela tehlakalo kepha-ke ngenhlanhla lembi abafakwa uma kwakhiwa imigomo nemithetho yekuvikela nekusita labakhubatekile ngesikhathi setehlakalo. Boma-ke nebantwana labakhubatekile baye babhekane nekuhlukubeteka kuphindze kube nemicabo lematima nabadzinga lusito ngesikhathi sesehlakalo. Kuthi-ke bantu labakhubatekile basitekala njani ngesikhathi setehlakalo ngiyona Ndzaba Mlonyeni lebeyitekwa kulo mhlangano. Lona ngileminye imihlangano lechubekako lapha edolobheni leDoha la kuhlangene khona abaholi. Libandla laseswatini kakhulukati bosonhlalakahle labavela ehhovisini leliphini landvunankhulu bawungenele lo mhlangano.
I'm from the Deputy Prime Minister's office in the Kingdom of Eswatini, the office responsible for providing interventions and care for persons with disability. I have a set of 3 questions. The first question is how is the area of risk knowledge strengthened? What programs exist that go towards making interventions towards that area in ensuring that persons with disabilities have a better understanding on the hazards?
Uvela lo mbuto nje ingani ngeminyaka wa 2019 inhlangano yakamhlaba i-Global Network of Civil Society Organizations for Disaster Risk Reduction ibike kuthi bantfu labasengotini yekuhlukubeteka kakhulu nakuvela tehlakalo labafaka ekhatsi labakhubatekile ababikhona nakwakhiwa tinhlelo tekuvikela kutsi bantfu bangashawa kakhulu tehlakalo. Tinhlangano tebantfu labakhubatekile-ke tinxusa bohulumende kutsi basebenzisane netinhlangano tebantfu labakhubatekile nakwakhiwa imigomo yekuvikela tehlakalo kute nabo babe nelivi kutsi bafuna kusitakala kanjani. Imibiko mayelana netehlakalo letibonakala tita i-early warning Kuthiwa-ke akwentiwe isiqiniseko sekuthi ifinyelela kubo bonke abantu ngisho nalabakhuluma ngelulwimi lwetandla. Belitiko letisebenti nenhlalakahle labayingxenye yaleli bandla bavakasheleke nendzawo lapho kukhangiswa khona ematiko kanye netinkampani talapha eQatar nangephandle. Tindzawo letivakashelwe tifaka ekhatsi litiko letisebenti lalapha eQatar lelikhangisa ngempahla yekusebenta lekhona ngokuthi ikwehlise kushisa emtimbeni waloyo loyigcokile akhone kungeva kushisa lokwecile nakasebenta endzaweni lapho lilanga libase khona. Letinye tindzawo letivakashelwe ngumnyango wetenhlalakahle lapha eQatar lapho leli bandla lifikele eva khona ukuthi iQatar itisebenta njani tindzaba tenhlalakahle ikakhulukati njengoba lihhovisi leliphini landunankulu lisebenta indzaba yekunakekela abantu labadzala nalabeswele kanye nelihlelo lekuthi emaswati akhone kufaka abantwana esiswini phecelezi adoption. Elangeni langa lwesine kubheke ukuthi umhlangano webaholi uvalwa ngalokusemthethweni lapha eDoha. Kubikade ngithini Gule ngiseDoha eveni leQatar.
Indvuna ilitiko letekwatisa kuchumana nebuchwephesha umhlonishwa Savannah Maziya ithi kutfolakala kwedata ngemanani laphansi kungulenye indlela lekhombisa kusitakala nekuphatheka kahle kwamakhasimende.
Inkampani MTN Eswatini seyitfule lihlelo lolusha lolutawenta kutsi sive sibe nedata lengeke ibe netincabekelwano temahora lambalwa kanye neluhlelo lo cashback. Indvuna yelitiko letekwatisa umhlonishwa Savannah Maziya ithi kutfolakala kwedata melula kungaba nemthelela lomuhle ekwakheni ematfuba emsebenti kubantfu labasha nasekutfutfukiseni tinhlangothi letfaka ekhatsi temfundvo kanye netemphilo kulokunye.
What you're doing now is really putting customer service issues into action. So now you're really appreciating that the customer is queen. Data CEO, as you understand, is very important to our youth, to our businesses, to our elderly. It's a lifeline. It's no longer a luxury. So children who are going to school need data, our businesses need data, hospitals need data, and as we go forward, more and more people are going to need data. But you and I have spoken, CE, about the issue of what keeps a business viable. Our relationship with yourselves is really important because not only are you looking as data or as voice, as your only income producer, but for us to be able to really collaborate and do more things that assist us and assist you. And in doing so, we are able to reach every corner of this nation and give those services effectively to everyone.
Umphathi wenkampani MTN Eswatini Jerry Soko uthi le nkampani itimisele kubambisana nahulumende ekuqinisekiseni ukuthi bantfu bayafinyelela kutebuciko. Uthi lokhu yintfo letawuletha ematfuba emsebenti nakubantfu labasha.
Has been alluded, it's a very youthful country. So a lot of what happens in Eswatini has to do with young people. And if you just look at the demographics of the country, the bigger part of the population is young people. So what are we doing there? The reason we're here today is to ensure that not only are we supporting, or providing the ability to learn more through, more value. It's also an opportunity that we see that could create jobs as people are more enhanced to use their devices, to use their connection a lot more.
Loluhlelo lusukunyiswa ngemva kwekuthi kuba netikhalo ukuthi idata iyabita kakhulu kanti-ke netinhlelo letinyenti tahulumende setitfolakala ngato tebuciko ngetinhlelo letifaka ekhatsi i-government in your hand. Kubika Sondomlangeni ezulwini.
Indvuna ilitiko letemfundvo umhlonishwa owenxumalo uthi uhulumende usebenzisana netinhlangothi letahlukene ekuqinisekisa ukuthi tonke tikolwa eveni tiyakhona kuniketa timfundvo temakhono kanye netebuchwephesha. Indvuna beyikhuluma ngesikhathi ivakashele esikolwa lesiphakeme sasendwandwe eMankayane lapho baxoxisene khona ngetinsaya letibhekene nalesikolo.
Libandla lelichamuka etiko letemfundo liholwa nguye indvuna yaleli tiko umhlonishwa owenxumalo ivakashele esikolwa lesiphakeme sasendwandwe eMankayane kuyohlala phansi baxoxisana nalesikolo ngetinkinga letibhekene nalesikolo ngaphansi kohlelo lakhe uhulumende lekubuka vale tikhebesi letikhona kutemfundo delive. Thishela nhloko walesikolo Vusi Simelane wetfule endvuneni ukuthi kulokunye lesikolo sinebulukhuni bekuniketa tifundvo tabongcondo mshina kulokunye.
Nakufike exam sinoya tinhloko sitonobetela ngoba ama computer lesinawo asagugile. Uke wasipha inspector sine inspector ama computer lamasha manje aba idlazana elincane wasipha nje 17. So sasesala 17 ke asebentele kahle manje kunalamadzala ke lale ko 20 asahlala network sikasetshentwa sekucimile akusasenti ke sisebenze kahle kanti le-ICT siyayidzinga ukuthi ibe khona.
Indvuna yetiko letemfundvo komhlonishwa Owen Nxumalo uthi hulumende akahlali phansi nani usebenza netinhlangothi letahlukene kucinisekisa ukuthi imfundo yelive iyakhonza.
Siyarealize vele ukuthi le mali hulumende la ekhiphako kuma overseas kuyabonakala ukuthi naye beka ufake amandla uyasebenza kepha sitachubeka siyiparlamente sikhulume ukuthi aseyenyuswe sithunywe ingwenyama. Ingwenyama ke ithi nangabe siya letikolweni kufuna kube nema solutions. I-guidance ingwenyama le siniketa yona kuthi nangabe sakha phela asikwende kuphelele kube khona konke. Ka-education lamalanga sikhuluma ngetinto tema-computer digital. Besinethi ihlobo nje lechamuka eKenya lifuna kusibambisa ngema-tablets. Tincwadzi tifaka kuma-tablets. Ngiyona language lekhulunywako leyo. Sitawucela ke lokuthi ayiqiniswe le ama-computer labs esibayeni bakhulumile ukuthi kusese-relevant le mfundo. Ngiko ke nyalo sesifaka lamakhono ukuthi noma ngaba kwachubeki kuyalela uyakhona le CBE itakuchanela wende lo lokukhona kwenda kangcono.
Ikusho kwalo litiko letemfundo lisebentela ukuthi kuvaleke tonke tikhebesi letikhona endzabeni yelwati lwetemfundo tabongcombo mshina emkhatsini wetikolo letisemakhaya naleto letisemadolobheni kude live libambe mazinga emhlaba kutemfundo. Lobikako nguSamkelisiwe Khoza eMankayane.
Umcondzisi wetinkhulumo ePhalamende umhlonishwa Jabulani Maziya uthi tishamthetho timcoka ekucinisekiseni ukuthi live liyasimama kutemnotfo kangako kumcoka ukuthi bahlaleke baphilile emtimbeni nasengqondweni.
Njengoba iPhalamende yeli-12 sekuphele iminyaka lemibili yathatha sifungo yangena ehhovisi, indlu yabaya esikhulu ibambe umhlangano wemalanga lamabili lapho khona emalunga ameme khona ihlangothi letempilo ukucushisa wona emalunga ngetempilo nelihlangothi letimali kubakhumbuta ngekuphatha kahle imali. Umcondzisi wetinkhulumo ePhalamende umhlonishwa Jabulani Mabuza uthi emalunga atfelethe ingoni letahlukene tentutfuko yelive ngakho kumcoka ukuthi nabo bahle batinaka kutempilo.
Sasebenta njengoba sisebenza ngemsebenzi lothinta sive kangaka kulesinye isikhathi nalo nema stresses lamanengi baphela usebenza ngebantfu umelele bantfu netinkinga tabo uyadiva nenkinga tabo uyadethwala. Ake sibe relaxed nje bese nanabo bahlonishwa bakhunjutwe phela ukuthi neyabo impilo imcoka. Lesive sibadzinga abaphilile. Lesive sibadzinga ukuthi bachubeke badelive so they must be healthy. Nekokuthi ke sikhumbutane ke nekubonga nje kusebenzisana wonke leminyaka lemibili. Siphindze sikhumbutane ke nange-mandate yethu ye-constitution yokuthi vele phela kufanele sisebende nesive sibambise sive ngalendlela lena lesisibambisa ngayo.
Emalunga laxoxisane nalomsakato athi umsebenzi laba uthunywe wona sive uyabita bayadzinga vele kuhle batinaka kutempilo.
Impilo yelunga imcwa kakhulu ngoba lilunga kufute ukuthi libe khona litosebenzela sive. Impilo yelunga idulile ngoba nakungendeka nje ilunga lishone kufuna ukuthi uhulumende aphinze afake isandla ekhikhini ahamba ukwenda nakule bathi by election. Lo ngakhanza ukuthi ke sekuyamdulela naye uhulumende kungumsebenzi wakhe ke uhulumende ukuthi emalunga ePhalamende anakeke
sibuyeleke nasemuva ku community nakhona utathi no uyiface le community uyiface so fresh so equipped la ngoba siyeva nethi sitawuva nangabo emotional intelligence lapho uthi wende konke ku community yakho kodwa kube ne complainer. Uthi uphume ngala wende kahle kube ne complainer lokuchamuka ngala. Uthi wende kahle kuchamuke lokunye ngala. So sitawusitakala itasibambisa kakhulu le retreat le.
Kulomhlangano emalunga ePhalamende atawuphinza abuke ukuthi basasebentela lona live kugunyatwa ngomthethosisekelo welive naleminye imigomo yelive basahamba ngato intimiso tendlu nesive. Lobikako nguSamkelisiwe Khoza eMbabane.
Bo betikhulu bathi kunesidingo sakwekuthi kube nekubambisana emkhatsini kwetikhulu kanye nabosomabhizinisi labalima emahlathi. Letikhulu tithi lokho kutawusita kuvimba netinkinga letiba khona letifaka ekhatsi kushiswa kwemahlathi lokungekho emthethweni. Kanti-ke tikuvete lokho emhlanganweni nelitiko letekuvakasha netindzaba temvelo lakhona boba betikhulu bebafundziswa ngokunakekela imvelo kanye nemahlathi kanye nemitsetfo-ke le engamele kuvikeleka kwemahlathi.
Lo mhlangano welitiko letekuvakasha nendzaba temvelo uhlanganise tikhulu tasenshiselweni lapho bekukhulunywa ngemitsetfo leyengamele imvelo kanye nemahlathi. Tikhulu letiliso lemakhosi tivete imibono netinkinga letikhona emangweni, ikakhulu letiphatselene netinkampane temahlathi kanye-ke nekulwa netinkinga letifaka ekhatsi kushiswa kwemahlathi ngalokungekho emtsetfweni.
Umhambo nje wakithi bekungamane kushiswe noma kanjani, bekushiswa ngesikhathi sekucaleni una kwelitulu kwadekala ukuthi hayi lo mhlabathi lo tshani nabusha sengeke bushe netimphansi butokuthi naselinayinile bese busheshe buyamila. Manje-ke nyalo inkinga abantu sebaganga sengeke nje usamade umloshisile, otherwise nakutawushisa bekubidwa emangweni kubikwe sekutawushiswa la endzawo letsite kugadwe nalo mlilo nyalo sebashisa abantu noma bashisa ngelugwayi noma bashisa ebusuku kubone sekusha nje live ungasade ukuthi abathola abantu.
Bobabe bafetile lana kwekuthi vele ukhanza ukuthi kude lokubambisana lokukhona kuleto tinkampane letilima lawo mahlathi uma nabo babona nje sekufika nje imoto emaloli alayisha kuthi kube khona nabakuzuzako kude.
Umphathi sifundza waseshiselweni Themba Masuku uthi bobabe badzinga lwati kuze batawukhona kukhuta kugawulwa kwetihlahla nekutsengiswa kwetihlahla tesintfu.
Lokuhlangana kwethu kumcoka kakhulu kutokwateka ukuthi bobabe sebayati ukuthi ematete afanele avikele. Sitawumela umuntu lotawusuka embabaneni ayociza litete lale kangomonye noma sine sila kulendzawo lesisika lelikhwane la lesisika lenkoboza la kufuneka ukuthi lendlungulo ibe ngiyo lethi hey vikelani lokho ngoba nyalo emacansi phela vele singcwatshwa ngawo kusho ukuthi ke nyalo sesitawushiswa vele ngoba lamacansi akasenotholakala. Ngithi ke ngijabuliswa ngilokuthi lokukhona bethu la busisitile.
Lo mhlangano uhlanganise tikhulu takamanzini taseshiselweni netakahoho kanti usekelwe libhange lakamhlaba. Lo mhlangano kuwuvalwe ngalokusemtsetfweni indvuna yelitiko letekulima umhlonishwa Mandla Chauke lebe yimelele indvuna yelitiko letekuvakasha umhlonishwa Jane Simelane. Kubika Sondomlangeni eMbabane.
Litiko letekulima selichubekele etibhini laseNkoboyi kaMalinza elihlelweni lwekuvikelisa tinkhomo kutivikelisa ku-foot and mouth lehlasele live.
Letiko letekulima liyachubeka nekujova tinkomo esifundzeni saselibonjeni kulandzela ukuthi kuphetfuke sifo semlomo nemasondvo kulesifundza. Lomuhla litiko letekulima lijova tinkomo kuNkoboyi eDeep lapho litama khona ukuthi livikele kwanza kwaso lesifo. Sifo kule ndzawo yakaMalinza sicale kutfolakala evikini leliphelile kanzi litiko letekulima lisukubele eTulu layojovisa tinkhomo letingaphansi kwempaka loku ke selichubekele la kuNkoboyi. Sikhulumisana naThemba Fakutse longusihlalo welidibhu lala kuNkoboyi losichazela kabanti ngekuchubeka kwalomsebenzi.
Uvele simemetelo sivekutonga uhulumende ukuthi tinkomo setitfolakala ukuthi sinesifo lesithite semlomo namasondo. Wathi ke uhulumende cha asetime tinkomo tingasayidama matitsha uthelelana lesifo. Awukwathi kusenjalo ngamatukwana ungakapheli amalanga lamathathu wasibita uhulumende wathi inyanza leyo manje asengitholele lo mthi. Sicabanga ukuthi uhulumende utawenda letinto takhe lathume ngato. Uhulumende usimbona inkosi yambele ukhokhele naba bomadibhane. Inkosi yami bafika nga-5 ebusuku siwe sesinabo la nkosi yami basitha abantu abebantu. Nebafuyi-ke siyabonga baphumile abakathi ngoma naku uhulumende ubitele eTulu sikabitane noma siye sibitane kumbe nasidedane ukuthi sitaba nemhlangano nini. Kepha nje abantu baNkulunkulu kuMalinza abantu umusa. Into lenhle uhulumende kwethembeka kuqaleka kanje nje ngoma nikhombise kwethembeka. Hayi kuze into dilatele kuze kuvuleke imigodzi lebengeke isavuleka.
Banifundzisa yini lapha belitiko letekulima ukuthi nisivikela njani lesifo ukuthi singanzi phela?
Ngicabanga ukuthi into ecala labayendile basifundisile ucala bafika nje letigaba lethu bathumela labo madibhane bethu abasifundisa ukuthi inkomo nangabe senalesifo uyivikela kanje. Awusayiveti letinye tinkomo nganalihlobo nalo ngoba seyisuke letimpawu tisho ukuthi inaso lesifo lesithile. singacela nje siveni ukuthi sonke sive tingoma singadishushumbise sesiyadibhica siyathatha leti ngoma sengakajova sithi sisekele futhi nasetindzaweni esathi ukuthi leti setigomile letangala singavumelani nethi leti sengagomide yamane naleti setigomile.
Sifo semlomo nemasondvo sicale kutholakala etibhini lasesikhwebezi ngaphansi kwesifundza saseshiselweni mhla til12 enyangeni yeNkwekhweti kulomnyaka losetulu. Sibese-ke sitholakala kumambane ngaphansi kwelibombo lokhu sesiphindze sitholakala la kaMalinza. Sive siyakhutsatwa ukuthi sichubeke sivikele kwanza kwaso sifo semlomo nemasondvo. Kubika Bongani Mathebula, Anasimuva Shongwe, kungoboyi kaMalinza.
Sitile knowledge Dlamini Lotfole Shwele ngaphansi kwe-royal pardon uthi kuganga kwakhe lokwagcine ekholele ukuthi agwetshwe advonse ejele kumbangele izinkinga letinkulu empilweni njengekuthi wagcina onakalelwe likhaya lakhe.
Nawu njengami nje ukhona lokukhuluma ngithi nangibakhuthatha nami ngithi kwagangeka vele bekugangekile mane-ke lese kungiqhuqhisa kungimangalisa ngilomsa longaka ngifuna kucala nje ngingakabongi kakhulu ngithi kubomnakethu gama socethile emagama onke bese ngithi kubomnakethu waphuma la ungena Jesu konakele mina ngaqasha abantu lona ke waqasha abantu uqaleke lapho ufohloteka uphele emandla bathi ungaba ngumntwana kaNkuluNkulu awusathi naki letinto leto welfare ungisite ngokuthi sekunetinto lengathi ukuthi lokhu ngeke ngukhona ukukushintsha kumile nje angeke kungihlule nale ngaphandle ngiyathi ukuthi ngidanga emandla ngidanga esibinzi nangeqinisela nangekukholana nangethembeka ukuthi ngidawuma nalabo benginatha ke make ngibhema nalensango kakhulu lebe nginatha nabo le mali yami phela yale masotsheni angibaqasha labantu sebaphi kude ngisho munye abasekho bonke labantu labo nalabadlile le mali angisababoni sekubhlungu sengidosa ngedwana kwagangeka ngithanza kuthatha leli thuba lokuthi i-correctional ingethembe ngiyathi ke ukuthi nami bengitimisela ukuthi angingamhlazisi bengingasho ke mina emake ukuthi ngihlazisa i-correctional ngaleso sikhathi bengithi angamhlazisi lo Jesu wami lokhu singingumntwana kaNkuluNkulu angifuni nje kuhlazisa lo Jesu wami uma kuningi labakugadzile kokuthi kutawwendiwa ngimi ngingumntwana kaNkuluNkulu ngengimaka ngilahlekelwe ke mina ngilahlekelwe ngimuti ngilahlekelwe indvo safuna ngokuchazela abantwana ukuthi kwasuka la kwente kanjani nangabe sithi sikubambile sikubambe sicethe ngawe utibone wena wenda kahle kanzi wende kabi ekugcineni ulahlekelwe kuphila kwapho kepha kwami kuvusiwe ngifuna kusho njalo ngicela kukhutha lwandle bayethe wena waphakathi wena ongange izidaba sakumabhuku.
Litiko letemcebo waphansi nemandla selibemedele kwehla kwentsengo yaphethiloli ekhathi nebusuku bangalesine lokushokusa kwa lomuhla mabhalaneke lomkhulu etiko letemcebo waphansi nemandla Lindiwe Mbingo uthi le ntsengo yaphethiloli itawehla isuke ku-20 emalangeni 60 cents uye ku-20 emalangeni 15 cents ilitha bese kuthi intsengo yadizili itawusuka ku-21 emalangeni uye ku-20 emalangeni 55 cents ilitha. Intsengo yaparafini yona itawusuka ku-15 emalangeni 35 cents yehle iye ku-14 emalangeni 90 cents ilitha. Mabhalane lomkhulu ubese ucela sive ukuthi simsebenzise kahle phethiloli. Temidlalo mengameli welicembu lembabane Highlanders AMFC Shoni Mkhize uvakashele iKhilani Stadium lakhona bekahambisana namasipala welidolobha lasesipiki bayeke ukuhlolisisa lendzawo kwendvulela umdlalo lomkhulu kulempelasonto lakhona licembu litawube libambene edulu neMalandi Chiefs FC. Kulolu vakasho lwakhe Mkhize utsintse indzaba ekakhulukati kwekuthi usafuna yona indzawo lefanele yekwakhela lelicembu lakhe likhaya. Akulokunye umphathi wenhlangano yemidlalo webhola kuleli Frederick Mngomezulu uthi imidlalo yeBuild It inemithelela lemihle kubo badlali bakhe kanye ke nakubo badali bebantwana. Mngomezulu bekakhuluma uma kusukunyiswa emancamo ale midlalo yebantwana lesekelwe titolo taka Build It eMbabane. Asibeke lapho tesiswati sita ubahlorayit makete sitawubuya sichubeka nehlelo masinyane.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.za.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sente ukukhiqiza lokusemndeni.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you'll go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Welcome back. This is a Thursday edition of Kusile Breakfast Show. Thank you for staying with us. Njengoba sishilo ukuthi will be joined by Dr. Thembi Dlangamandla. She's the veterinary officer in the Ministry of Agriculture. The livestock sector in Eswatini is under pressure as outbreaks of foot and mouth disease continue to spread across the country. The disease has recently spread to Malinza, Mpaga and Sikupe in the Lubombo region. The first case reported was in May 12th, 2025 in the Kusile region. Dr. Thembi joins us now in studio to give us an update on the situation on the ground and what's actually happening at Mpaga and how this disease manages to spread so quickly. Dr. Kusile, thank you so much for joining us. It's in the update. Sitfolile ukuthi kwaba outbreak way back in May eShiselweni, but kuyabonakala ukuthi solo yaspreada le foot and mouth ispreada kanjani. What is the situation on the ground really?
Anginvusele babukele ekhaya. Thank you so much for inviting us to share what exactly is happening with Eswatini. As you have rightly said, foot and mouth was first reported, or the first suspect case was first seen on the 12th of May 2025. Lentasi Esquebezi. It was shocking. We're all in shock, we're all in disbelief, considering that we have not had the disease for the past 24 years. Yatsike umangabe ikonfenywa, we were all on the ground, educating the nation, educating the farmers, amount wa ema checkpoints, we were there, you know. And we are grateful to the Shiselweni people. We are grateful to the Shiselweni people because balalela. And lenginga kusho ukuthi we vaccinated. After vaccinating, when they were given the second dose, you know, no cases were reported. Kodwa ke bantu abayinyanhlanye bangasiwo emanti. There are some people who just decide, you know, to do as they please. So, we saw the disease spreading to Lubulini. Farmers were just telling us that it's normal practice for us to move our animals at this time of the year in search for water, in search for pastures. The outbreak is then spreading to the Lubulini area, Lubombo. We were talking to them, we continued with the awareness and sensitization, and some farmers were listening, as I am saying, others were not. The outbreak spread, yahamba yayofika kumambane in the Lubombo region again. I think we don't want to be disappointed. Kuyendeka vele when you are fighting an outbreak, nipula umlilo. You know, you will then see kuthi as udaya down, kuba khona futhi la uhlubona kubhunya khona intuthu. So we believe this is what we are seeing in Baga. The first report we got was on the 27th, Monday last week. A farmer reported one animal in his crawl. Kodwa ke beka reporter kumathetha area in a deep tank called Luwaweni. On investigation, our team was on the ground, investigated, and indeed the signs were consistent with those of FMT. It wasn't just the one animal, it was 7 animals in that crawl. Kwasetfusa ke lokho. Same day on Monday, we got another report from a farmer in Baga now. So the first report comes early in the morning, the next report is around 11 on the same day. At around 3:30, another farmer in Makovini, a deep tank around Malinza sub-region, also reported. Hey, we were all in shock. Maybe what I can say is that these animals, unfortunately, they started getting sick, they started getting the signs before they were reported. But the owners couldn't see them. So letingomo ukhanza ukuthi batikoleka only when they are going to be taken to the deep tank. So I guess that is why we got 3 reports same day. Now, we realized that we have a problem in that area. So on the 30th, on Thursday, we then decided to call Emadi Pulang 7. Go to let the animals. Now we were looking at Mpaga, we were looking at the deep tank yaselwaweni, lapha kumathetha. Sesibita ke lawo la sonzelene nawo. So we quickly called them. We then did earring vaccination. That's what we call. Saqala ke mhla ka-30 kwaya mhla ka-31. And then we were also on the ground doing surveillance, and we realized ukuthi ngathi seyiphuma phumile. Now, we don't have a full report on what is happening in Baga right now because we are still doing surveillance. But what I can say is that we have vaccinated 7 deep tanks kumpaga, and tinkomo letijovile lapho tibengu 12,065. The teams are on the ground. Lokshoti logo prompted the formulation of another team, an 8th team. There were 7 teams that were working in the Shiselweni and the Lubulini and Mambane areas that were affected. Kwase ke sekwakiwa an 8th team lokuyona ke nyalo seyifocus lapha kuMbaga. It doesn't mean ukuthi the other teams are not going to support this particular team. So what I can say is It's encouraging for us. It's encouraging for everyone. Let us not lose hope. Where we have double vaccinated, where the animals have been fully vaccinated, we are not seeing any new cases. We are not seeing any clinical disease. Loku kufike kwafuna kusideraila a bit. When you plan something, the devil will also come and try to derail you. Now, we were in the process of trying to ease up restrictions because there was no evidence of clinical disease on the ground. The efforts have really worked. It's a minor hardly, and I believe we are going to conquer it.
Yeah. So as of today, Doctor, how many animals have been affected by FMD? How many deaths have been reported? Solo Yapetuga way back in May. And what strategies or solutions has the ministry put in place, to end this outbreak? I mean, FMD is not new in Eswatini. We did experience it in 1964, 2001. What could that strategy used way back be effective today?
Okay, thank you so much. So what I can say is that we don't really count the numbers. When we go to the deep tank, we mouth. Once we get to number 20 or 21 of the infected animals, we then stop. Because as you are mouthing, you have to be constantly disinfecting, right? Okay. So you open the animal, you handle it, you have to disinfect, go to another one. But now, if you will continue, so getting to 20 for us is enough to say that particular deep tank has been infected. Now, the numbers maning. Allow me to say that. And all I can say is that the deep tanks that have been affected, therefore, sitotse ang 91 currently. Ang 91. Okay. So those are the deep tanks. Let's say we're vaccinating them. Countrywide. Okay. Yes. Now, you are right when you're saying that foot and mouth is not new. It has been there. It started 65 all the way to 2000, managed to eradicate it in 2001. We are seeing it again today. The strategies that were employed then are the same strategies that we are using now. Movement controls. So whenever there is an outbreak, everything has to move, right? Secondly, farmer awareness and sensitization and education, that is still being done. Checkpoints were mounted then. Checkpoints are being mounted even today. We have had a human cordon. Human cordon beluse literally to prevent animals from one area, from mixing with animals from an uninfected area. We have had the human cordon even this time. Then there were physical barriers. You will remember ukuthi bekukhona ka-10 ngala kuboma Piven. You remember the red line. It was the red line, and then it became the green line. So it was a physical structure. This one caught us off guard. Government channeled onke ma resources akhe to the Lubombo area, the eastern side. That is where we have had the outbreak coming from. Le Elubonjeni. Now there was the cordon line, a double fence, 100 meters apart. We also had the red line. There was personnel there. We honestly didn't think it was going to come from Eshiselweni. So it kind of caught us off guard as a country and as a ministry. Ngale Eshiselweni, there is one line because it was a very low risk area. So ngicabanga ukuthi ngiko lokho ngathi kusihlulile nyalo. But we are on the ground. Liyavuswa le line. It was there. It was kind of dilapidated. We are trying to rehabilitate it kula malanga, and good work has been done there. The only thing that is different that happened then and is not happening now is that infected animals were destroyed. Bekuthi uma ngabe kutholakala ukuthi tina foot and mouth, divele tibekwe eceleni leso sikhathi, tidutshulwe, tingcwatshwe. I remember when I got employed, I was taken to Kahoho, ayongkhombisa emathuna etinkomo tefuten. We were killing them and burying them. That is the only thing that has not happened this time. When the disease first started, ngalo May, farmers were all, alert. They all didn't want their animals to mix with unknown herds because they were thinking the animals are going to be destroyed. But when they realized that this is not happening, babe sebayakhululeka, sebayatiyekela tihamba intsandvo, atiseluzwa. I guess that is what has caused the spread of the disease. Now, as a technician, I won't talk for the ministry. As a technician, what we are going to do is to continue with the awareness, with the education. We have to continue doing that even this time. And then we also have to continue to encourage farmers to report, diseases so that we can be able to be on site early and contain that disease. The control, the vaccination which we are doing right now, so long as the vaccine is available, that's what we will be doing. But I believe EMA policymakers might change or might decide to take a different direction as the spread continues.
Yeah, you must be quite stressed, Doctor. Non-Kenyan staff, Sako, your colleagues, actually, you're on the ground every day, and monitor the situation. So what measures will the ministry take, should the disease continue to be a problem? Although there are still ongoing efforts to contain it, what measures will be taken?
Well, as I'm saying, let me not talk for the ministry on this one, but as a technician, we were not going to give up on the farmer sensitization. We're not going to give up on that. What I am aware of is that they are in the process of kind of strengthening the law, because if the law is not that strong, if we don't have the backing of the law, this is going to continue. I'll give an example. People get caught doing illegally moving animals, trying to move the meat, doing illegal things. They get caught. They are taken to the court for prosecution, but le charge abayiva. Because that is what is in our law. So yingane kakhulu abayiva. So I want to believe that they are working on this. Labatsala etikweni, they are working on this.
So let's spread yendeka kanjani dokotela? Is it because farmers are not cooperating in vele? Bathi abantu bambisene ngani? Do you actually get a moment ukuthi nikhulumisane nabo nivule ukuthi isala kuphi yini lenkinga? Because ngabe sayiceza ishiselweni basinyelo sesiyibona la elibonjweni. How is it spreading so quickly?
You know, asingabafaki bonke, others are there, they are cooperating. There are those few who are not. I am not so sure whether I will say people are not, some are not that aware. Though we are having these awareness campaigns, but it is difficult to reach everyone. So labanye batogwenda vele ukhanze ukuthi the person was not really sure ukuthi nami uma ngiyihambisa yami inkomo isengakhona ukuspread the disease. Foot and mouth maswati lamahle akahambi ngemoya. Uhamba ngetinkomo titosuswa from an infected area to a clean area. Right? Kulabanye nje, I'll give an example. Kukhona lowa lobola. What decide nje ukuthi cha ngizohamba ngiyolobola. Disuka from the clean area wayolobola ku the infected area. Right? So tahamba without amapass ngoba sesivalile. It's one of the examples. Now, because those animals cannot now dip in this infected area because they came without the proper permits. Dipping day, we had to keep utimisela le la kuhlobe khona. And by so doing, the virus moved. So we ended up with the virus in a different area that was previously clean. So lengingakusho nje kumaswati akusiye umoya lolothambisako tihanjiswa tifuyo tinkomo in particular. They are the ones that are being moved illegally from a dirty area to a clean area. Ukhanze ngaleyo ndlela leyo sekokheleka lo mlilo. So that is one way. And ke lokunye lengingakusho, it's not just inkomo kuphela. We also have excreta, the waste from the inkomo. Kusengaba ngemathe, they carry the virus. Umchamo carries the virus, and then even the feces, they also carry the virus. Bulongo. So it is therefore critical that if animals are being moved, sikubonile lokunye kakhulu ku stock theft, tiyabulawa tibulawele somewhere esigangeni. Aye athe maswati, once an animal has died, once a cow has died, tiyeta letinye titobhonza titambamba kulomswane. And as they are sniffing, licking lo mswane wale nkomo lefile, usuka i-container le virus. By so doing nato setiba infected. So it is also important ukuthi whenever we are slaughtering, the disposal of the waste is proper, is done in a proper way. Kuphi umgodi ugcibezele kungabi khona lokukhona lapho lokungalayisha leli gciwane.
Yeah. Lokuchaza nje Dr. vele kuyavela lokuthi the livestock sector is surely under threat. Will we be able to recover? You know, the UK and other countries have restricted meat imports from Eswatini. So khona vele ukuthi si recover from all this.
Okay, I think what is unfortunate with foot and mouth is that it's a disease that doesn't kill. You asked earlier about the number of deaths. You know, I think it's about 2-3 weeks ago, we went to another farm to vaccinate, and then the owner reported that I have lost 7 have died. They didn't die because of foot and mouth. What foot and mouth does is that when that tilonza lamlonyeni, lokusho ukuthi lesilwana sakhona ukudla, so they die because of hunger. Yes. Ngiloko lo lokuthi bulalako. So some are dying, but very few. If it's a disease that was killing, angifuni kusho but bekungaba ngcono because by so doing besingathi ukuthi the infected are going, they are dying, right? So foot and mouth doesn't kill. It hits hard on the economy. That is the bad thing about foot and mouth. As a country, once you are known or once you report that you have foot and mouth, no one wants to trade with you. Uma ngabe sikhuluma, it has affected us. Exports. We were exporting beef to the EU, we were exporting to Norway, we were exporting skins, si exporter dairy products, lokusho ukuthi bo yogurt nako konke, we're exporting to Botswana, we're exporting to Zambia, dairy. We are also exporting wildlife as a country. So lokusho ukuthi all those things have come to a standstill. Kwentekani ke lapho. People are losing jobs. Benkhuluma na some company lebeyithi we're not able to pay genyalo neti 70. We haven't retrenched, but we can't pay them because we can't export anymore. Nako la kusishaya khona lokwe foot and mouth. Recovery, Nkosi yami, whatever goes up or whatever goes down, it will always come back up. That is what we believe in. That is what we know. As a country, we will recover eventually. But it will depend entirely on the livestock owners. Right now, ikhulumile induna yayala beautifully, Nkosi yami, umuntu lomdzala. It depends on the livestock owners. Kusibambisa, let's not move the animals. Uyathi kuthi lo stand still, no movement. Vaccinate, dithole the second vaccine, we go on the ground. As I'm saying, eshiselweni kuhlobile. Some parts of Lubombo la saqala khona sekuhlobile. Nyalo ngabe sesikhuluma ukuthi wa easing restrictions. But uma ngabe sithi sekungcono, uphinza ukhanze engcenye sekuqala khona. That is not good. But definitely we are going to recover. We are hopeful.
We're hopeful, yes.
No, we shouldn't give up. We're hopeful. Yes.
Dr. Hopefully, Bafuyina Bobatan Bambisa, Dr. Tembi Ngamandla. She's the veterinary officer at the Ministry of Agriculture. So, an update on the foot and mouth disease. We go for an outbreak. Tabanetin Zabad, Singis.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. This is the news at 7. Her Majesty the Queen Mother has returned home following her official visit to the United Arab Emirates. Her Majesty's visit confirmed the existing bilateral relations between the two countries and further strengthened the relations.
Her Majesty the Queen Mother landed at the King Mswati, the third international airport, where Eswatini came out in numbers to welcome the Queen Mother. Eswatini showed and expressed their joy of welcoming Mhlekazi back home. The Queen Mother came back after her official visit came to an end. Her Majesty was on an official visit to the United Arab Emirates to strengthen the existing relations between the two countries. The United Arab Emirates is one of the countries that has long-standing bilateral relations with the Kingdom of Eswatini. There are several agreements of cooperation in various areas and sectors between the two countries. Upon arrival at the airport, Her Majesty was received by His Majesty's Makhosikati, Bokoko Balondolozi, their Royal Highnesses, the Princes and Princesses, the Acting Prime Minister, members of Royal Councils, members of the Cabinet, chiefs, dignitaries, and the public at large. On the news, I'm Polile Mazia with Zweli Masugu at the King Mswati, the third international airport.
The Minister of Information, Communications and Technology, Honorable Savannah Mazia, says data is very crucial as it demonstrates customer-centric service. The minister says both young people and the elderly need data regardless of their social status. The minister was speaking during the unveiling of Fagi Vibe by MTN Eswatini.
Following the concerns about expensive data, data expiry, and limited calling times, MTN Eswatini has introduced the Fagi Vibe program, which will ensure that data and voice minutes no longer expire. The Minister of Information, Communication and Technology, Honorable Savannah Mazia, says affordability of data is crucial for everyone.
What you're doing now is really putting customer service issues into action. So now you're really appreciating that the customer is queen. Data CEO, as you understand, is very important to our youth, to our businesses, to our elderly. It's a lifeline. It's no longer a luxury. So children who are going to school need data, our businesses need data, hospitals need data, and as we go forward, more and more people are going to need data. But you and I have spoken, CE, about the issue of what keeps a business viable. Our relationship with yourselves is really important because not only are you looking as data or as voice, as your only income producer, but for us to be able to really collaborate and do more things that assist us and assist you. And in doing so, we are able to reach every corner of this nation and give those services effectively to everyone.
MTN Eswatini's Chief Executive, Jerry Sogo, says MTN wants to continue partnering with government to drive digital transformation through this initiative, which also aims to create employment opportunities for young people.
Has been alluded, it's a very youthful country. So a lot of what happens in Eswatini has to do with young people. And if you just look at the demographics of the country, the bigger part of the population is young people. So what are we doing there? The reason we're here today is to ensure that not only are we supporting, or providing the ability to learn more through, more value. It's also an opportunity that we see that could create jobs as people are more enhanced to use their devices, to use their connection a lot more.
This initiative comes at a time when government services are available through the Government in Your Hand platform, which requires access to affordable data. Reporting Sondomlangeni, Ezulwini.
The Honourable Minister of Education, Owen Ngumalo, says government is working with different stakeholders to ensure that all schools incorporate technology and skills development in their syllabus. The minister made these remarks during a visit to Ndwandwe High School in Mankayane.
Officials from the Ministry of Education and Training, led by the Honourable Minister of Education, Owen Ngumalo, visited Ndwandwe High School in Mankayane to assess the state of education facilities and progress in integrating technology into learning. Ndwandwe High School Principal Vusi Simelane raised concerns about the school's challenges, including limited access to computers and insufficient infrastructure to support ICT-based learning.
Nakufike exam sinoyathi inhloko sitonobetela ngoba ama computer lesinawo asagugile. Uke wasipha inspector sine inspector ama computer lamasha manje aba idlazana elincane wasiba nje 17. So sesisala 17 ke asisebentele kahle manje kunalamadzala ke lale bo 20 asahlala network sikasetshentwa sekucimile akusasethi ke sisebenze kahle kanti ICT siyayidinga ukuthi ibe khona.
The Honourable Minister of Education, Owen Ngumalo, emphasized that for Eswatini to compete globally, learners must be equipped with both academic and practical skills.
Siyarealize vele ukuthi le mali uhulumende la ekhipha kuma offices kuyabonakala ukuthi naye beka ufake amandla uyasebenza kepha sitachubeka siyiparlamente sikhulume ukuthi aseyenyuswe sithunywe ingwenyama ke ithi nangabe siya letikolweni kufuna kube nema solutions i-guidance ingwenyama le siniketa yona kuthi nangabe sakha phela asikwenze kuphelele kube khona konke ka education lamalanga sikhuluma ngetinto tema computer digital besinethi hlobo nje lechamuka eKenya ngifuna kusibambisa ngema tablets tincwadi tifaka kuma tablets ngiyona language lekhunywa koleyo sitawucela ke lokuthi ayiqiniswe le ama computer labs esibayeni bakhulumile ukuthi le kusese relevant ile mfundo ngiko ke nyalo sesifaka lamakhono ukuthi noma ngaba kwachubeki kuyalela uyakhona le CBE itakuchanela wende lo lokhona kwenda kangcono.
He says government is committed to modernizing the education system by working closely with partners to provide schools with necessary resources and training. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Education is working with various stakeholders in developing strategies to bridge the gap between urban and rural schools in terms of access to technology. Reporting Samgalsiwe Koza, Mankayane.
The Honourable Speaker of the House, Jabulani Mabuza, says parliamentarians play a vital role in driving the country's economic development. It is therefore important that they maintain stable mental health and overall wellness. The Honourable Speaker was speaking during the House of Assembly retreat held at Sibebe Resort.
As it has been 2 years since the 12th Parliament sat for office, the House of Assembly hosted a retreat for parliamentarians to reflect on their work, strengthen teamwork, and focus on strategies that will enhance service delivery and national development. The Speaker of the House, Jabulani Mabuza, emphasized the importance of maintaining good mental health and physical health among members of Parliament.
Sasebenza njengoba sisebenza ngemsebenzi lothinta sive kangaka kulesinye isikhathi nalo nema stresses lamanengi baphela usebenza ngebantu umelele abantu netinkinga tabo uyadiva nenkinga tabo uyadethwala ake sibe relaxed nje bese nanabo bahlonishwa bakhunjulwe phela ukuthi neyabo impilo imgcoka lesive sibadzinga abaphilile lesive sibadzinga ukuthi bachubeke badelive so they must be healthy nekokuthi ke sikhumbutane ke nekubonga nje kusebenzisana wonke leminyaka lemibili siphinde sikhumbutane ke nange-mandate yethu ye-constitution yokuthi vele phela kufanele sisebende nesive sibambise sive ngale ndlela lena lesisibambisa ngayo.
Members of Parliament taking part in the meeting said to make sound decisions that benefit the nation, their mental health and physical well-being must remain stable and prioritized.
Impilo yelunga imcwa kakhulu ngoba na lilunga kufute ukuthi libe khona litosebenzela sive. Impilo yelunga idulile ngoba nakungendeka nje ilunga lishone kufuna ukuthi uhulumeni aphinze afake isandla ekhikhini ahamba ukwenda nakule bathi by election lo ngakhanza ukuthi ke sekuyamdulela naye uhulumeni kungumsebenzi wakhe ke uhulumeni ukuthi emalunga eParliament anakeke
sibuyeleke nasemuva ku community nakhona utathi no iface le community uyiface so fresh so equipped la ngoba siyeva next stawuva nangabo emotional intelligence lapho uthi wende konke ku community yakho kodwa kube ne complainer uthi uphume ngala wende kahle kube ne complainer lokuchamuka ngala uthi wende kahle kuchamuke lokunye ngala so sitawusitakala itasibambisa kakhulu le retreat le.
The retreat will also look into issues of financial management and the constitution of the Kingdom of Eswatini to ensure that legislators are better equipped to carry out their oversight and lawmaking responsibilities. Reporting Samgalsiwe Koza, Mbabane.
Chiefs in the Kusile region say there is a need for traditional leaders and commercial forest farmers to work together for the benefit of communities and residents. The chiefs shared their views during a capacity building workshop organized by the Ministry of Tourism and Environmental Affairs aimed at educating them on environmental and forestry policies.
The Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs through the Forest Department unpacked policies that govern forestry and environment. Chiefs in the Kusile region were capacitated during the workshop and raised several concerns, including the illegal burning of forests.
bekungamane kushiswa noma kanjani bekushiswa ngesikhathi sekucaleni una kwelitulu kwadekala uzayo lomhlabathi amindo tshani nabusha sengeke bushe netimpanzi ukuthi naselinayinile bese kusheshe beyamila manje ke nyalo
bobabe bafetile lana ukuthi vele ukhanza ukuthi kude lokubambisana lokukhona.
The chiefs noted that fault burning usually occurs at the start of the rainy season to prevent environmental degradation. They also highlighted the need to strengthen relationship between commercial forestry farmers and traditional authorities. The farmers also explained that the Kusile region has a system in place where farmers are requested to obtain a chief stamp when transporting forestry products to the market.
Anothola sihlahla sesindvu sijujiwe sibekwe la mgwaqweni sithengiselwa ke ubasi.
The regional administrator for the Kusile region, Themba Masuku, says that there are no indigenous plants being cut and sold along the roadside in the region. Masuku says that chiefs need to be empowered with knowledge to address illegal tree cutting locally, as it is not practical to rely on people from other areas to protect forests. The meeting for the Kusile chiefs marked the conclusion of the workshop for chiefs from 3 regions, which is Roho, Manzini and Shiselweni, which is supported by World Bank. The closing ceremony was officiated by the Minister of Tourism's representative, Honorable Mandla Chawuka. Reporting Sondomlangeni Babane.
The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade has announced plans to establish a cooperative bank within the next 3 years. This was revealed by the Honorable Minister Manqoba Khumalo during the German Cooperative and Raiffeisen Confederation Conference on the development of a cooperative bank in the country.
The Honourable Minister says they want to learn more about the Cooperatives Bank and setting it up with the support from DGRV, as in Germany where they originate, cooperatives drive the economy.
eJalimane economy yabo lenkulu isetandleni tema cooperatives masifunza bathi up to 50% of the economy yaseJalimane idrive ngama cooperatives. Sitofunza ke lokuthi benda njani bona bese sithatha ke loyo mcondvo loyo ngoba nala ekhaya siyawabona ama cooperatives ayakhula.
The minister says up to 50% of Germany's economy is being supported by cooperatives. He further emphasizes that it is a top priority for the ministry to establish the bank within the next 3 years. Chairperson of DGRV in Germany highlights some of the essential requirements needed to grow cooperatives in the country, which are critical to the sustainability of the cooperative bank.
We must try to get the youth into the cooperatives as members, and it's the same problem here in the kingdom, and so we can also use we can learn from each other. It's very important to listen to the members, because the members are the people who have engaged with the project.
DGRV, which is consulting on the feasibility of the cooperative bank, has indicated that the 3-year timeline set by the ministry for establishing the bank is achievable. Reporting Nelson Langamandla, Patizwe Msibi, Mbabane.
A new era for young entrepreneurs has begun with the launch of the Youth Eswatini Digital Savings and Credit Cooperative, a trailblazing initiative supported by the German Cooperative and the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade. At a reception held in Raiffeisen House in Babane on Tuesday evening, the Honourable Minister for Commerce, Industry and Trade, Honourable Manqoba Khumalo, hailed the cooperative as a turning point for young people, declaring that it paves the way for cooperatives to embrace the digital age and position Eswatini at the forefront of innovation and inclusion.
Honourable Manqoba Khumalo stated that this marks a new dawn for cooperatives in the country as young people have taken the lead in establishing this groundbreaking digital cooperative.
Cooperative ke lena le digital isebenzisa tebuchwepheshe ukuze ukuthi ilethe ama solutions kubantu labasha njengoba sathi nje ukuthi the jobs of the future are digital.
He further noted that as the ministry continues to advance the digital transformation of cooperatives, the registration and certification of this new entity represent a significant step forward towards the digitization of Eswatini's cooperative movement. Selindile Mkhondo, founding member of the Youth Eswatini Digital Circle, shares what this milestone means for young people and how it will open new opportunities for digital financial empowerment.
Sivule tandla yes sithi bamfla basha abete noma entrepreneur noma student noma uyasebenta noma awusebenzi ema savings ethu acala ku 50 emalangeni.
The chairperson of DGRV in Germany highlights the role they have played in supporting cooperatives in the country and outlines future plans to strengthen the cooperative movement through partnership with the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade.
First of all, the foundation of the National Cooperative Federation of Eswatini, a milestone in sectoral coordination and representation. And second, the implementation of digital solutions, and including a world-class core banking software that empowers cooperatives to operate securely and efficiently. Looking ahead, there are still a lot of joint plans, among them to establish a cooperative bank in Eswatini, a bold and transformative step for financial sovereignty and inclusive growth.
DGRV is also working closely with the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade to establish a national cooperative bank that will serve the more than 1,500 cooperatives operating across the country. Reporting, Nelson Langamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa Mbabane.
High Court Registrar Nosipho Mazibuko says if it happens in the future that the Commissioner of Correctional Services, Pindile Dlamini, releases an inmate from custody in the same manner as she did with the President of the Law Society of Eswatini, Mangaliso Makakula, she must face the full might of the law. This and other matters that occurred in the courts are detailed in the following report compiled by Fortune Langamandla.
High Court Registrar Nosipho Mazibuko has asked the court to rule that His Majesty's Correctional Services Commissioner General has no legal power to release anyone who has been sentenced by a court without a valid court order. This follows the release of the President of Law Society of Eswatini, Mangaliso Makakula, who had been jailed earlier this year for contempt of court. Makakula was jailed on May 31, 2025. In June 2025, High Court Judge Mamsi Dlamini ordered his release pending his application to review the sentence that had been handed down by High Court Judge Titus Mlangeni. Mazibuko tells a full bench of the High Court comprising judges Mamsi Dlamini, Bongani Dlamini and Justice Mavuso that such releases should only be done through a court order. She warns that if in future the Commissioner General releases an inmate in the same manner, she must face the full might of the law. The registrar further argues that when a person is jailed for contempt of court in a civil case, that contempt becomes a criminal matter and therefore the Commissioner General cannot interfere. Mazibuko says her office has the legal right to bring such matters before court, just as others can bring her to court to perform her duties. She adds that this was not the first time the Commissioner General had released an inmate without authority. She says it is important for the court to issue a ruling that would guide future conduct. She says this will ensure that if the Commissioner General ever repeated the same action, she will be held accountable in terms of the law. Mazibuko is represented by attorney Solijele of Robson Bertram, while Makakula and the Law Society of Eswatini are represented by attorneys Sabela Dlamini and Mangaliso Ngomonzi respectively. In another matter at the High Court, Judge Mamsi Dlamini has found Nido Prince Mdlovu guilty of culpable homicide. Mdlovu had been charged with murder after an altercation at a Paradise Bar last year. He tells the court that he acted in self-defense after the deceased attacked him with a stick. He says he retaliated using an okap knife and later reported himself to the police. His version of events was confirmed through a statement of agreed facts between the Crown and the defense. Mdlovu's lawyer Noncedo Dlangamandla asked the court to consider a lenient sentence that will allow him to pay a fine, but the Crown urged the court to remember that a human life had been lost. Judge Dlamini is expected to hand down a sentence next week, Wednesday. In another separate case in the High Court, a 22-year-old Mkolisi Ngunene from Love, who is facing 2 counts under the Sexual Offences and Domestic Violence Act, SODV Act, told the court that he is being framed. Ngunene is accused of raping a 14-year-old girl and maintaining a sexual relationship with the minor. When he appeared before High Court Judge Bongani Dlamini, he denied both charges, saying the allegations stem from a family dispute. He tells the court that he works at a car wash and that he is innocent of the accusations. Judge Dlamini granted him bail fixed at 50,000 emalangeni, ordering him to pay 3,000 emalangeni in cash and provide surety of 7,000 emalangeni. Reporting Fortune Dlangamandla, High Court.
In international news, tens of thousands of people have fled the Sudanese city of El Fasher after it was seized by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. Their arrival in camps was followed of reports of mass killings, sexual violence, attacks on aid workers, looting and abductions in a city where communications have largely been cut off. The recent spark in violence in this 2-year-long conflict has prompted fears that it will amplify the already important humanitarian catastrophe.
In this makeshift camp in Tawila, thousands have found temporary safety after fleeing El Fasher. They are among some 65,000 people believed to have left the Sudanese city seized by the Rapid Support Forces. Their stories tell of a situation spiraling out of control, of gender-based and ethnic violence, rapes and executions.
The Rapid Support Forces have beaten and humiliated us. They took all that we had and left us with nothing. I cannot find my husband, and I don't know if he's dead or alive or where he is.
In the streets along our displacement route, we found a lot of bodies. We found bodies of women and youth. There is no one to bury them.
The International Criminal Court estimates that the acts in El Fasher may constitute war crimes and crimes against humanity. The war in Sudan erupted in 2023. It has killed tens of thousands of people and displaced millions more. For now, peace seems remote. After considering a U.S. proposal for a ceasefire on Tuesday, Sudan's defense minister said that he will continue fighting against the Rapid Support Forces.
We thank the Trump administration for its efforts and proposals to achieve peace. Our preparations for war are a legitimate national right.
No details of the proposal have been made public. It's the second U.S. truce rejected by the Sudanese army. The first one excluded both the RSF and the army from a transitional political process. In Doha, the UN Secretary General called for an immediate ceasefire and for the international community to use its leverage.
And one thing that is essential to stop the fighting is to make sure that no more weapons come into Sudan. We need to create mechanisms of accountability because the crimes that are being committed are so horrendous that they cannot benefit from any kind of impunity.
The latest discussions follow a deadly escalation in the Kordofan region, one of the last Sudanese army strongholds in Darfur.
Residents of the central Philippines on November 5th began scraping mud from streets and homes that survived after Typhoon Kalmeji killed at least 85 and left dozens missing as it tore through the region. The devastating aftermath sparked anger among many Filipinos who say public officials have mismanaged funds in phantom flood safety projects.
The river swelled and with it wiped away nearly everything. As these Filipinos return to what was once their homes, there is little to do but take stock and salvage what they can from the mud that cakes nearly everything.
We've lost everything. We don't have a home. We need help. We've no place to sleep, no food, nothing. We only have torn clothes. We just need food, rice, anything to eat, but we have nothing.
With the death toll rising, residents of the Philippines' Cebu province, home to more than 2.4 million people, described how Typhoon Kalmagi brought unprecedented rainfall, which led to flash floods and landslides that engulfed entire communities.
The floodwaters quickly rushed in. We were not able to bring anything with us. This was the first time that this has happened to us. I've been living here for almost 16 years, and it was the first time I've experienced such flooding.
The Philippines is regularly hit by typhoons and storms, with around 20 a year. This in addition to a dozen active volcanoes, as well as earthquakes. A major one hit just over a month ago. But officials and residents are reeling in the aftermath of Typhoon Kalmagi. Cebu's provincial governor called it unprecedented and devastating, and it has sparked anger among many Filipinos who say public officials have mismanaged funds in phantom flood safety projects.
In our sports news, the Chief Executive Officer of the Eswatini Football Association, Frederick Mgomezulu, says the Build It Under 13 tournament has proven to be beneficial for both young players and their parents. Mgomezulu was speaking during the launch of the Build It National Championships in Babane.
The Build It Under 13 National Championship will be hosted at the Somhlolo National Stadium on the 14th of November, where teams from the 8 towns in which Build It stores are located will battle it out for the ultimate prize of being crowned the national champions. The Chief Executive Officer of the Eswatini Football Association, Frederick Mgomezulu, says the Build It tournament is beneficial to all the players and the parents alike.
As I spoke about transformations, we've seen a growth even in terms of the benefits.
individually and collectively, that are gained by the kids from this program. The director has announced that there is a bursary for the best player even this year, this edition, which has been now a norm since the past few years. And last year we saw the winning team also getting something in terms of assisting the kids towards their education.
Les Pillay, who is the marketing manager of Build It Stores, expressed his appreciation for the partnership with the Football Association.
20 years later when we met, that this program is still running, and obviously, you know, it's now the biggest junior development in Southern Africa. But I've got to obviously compliment the FA as well, is that from a commitment point of view as well, you guys have taken the Build It Under 13 to absolutely another level as well. We definitely appreciate it.
The 8 teams were then drawn against each other in 2 groups of 4 teams each, and they will play in a round-robin format before the knockout stage to determine the champion. The best player of the tournament will receive 10,000 emalangeni, which will go towards his educational needs. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizom Sibi. Babane.
And that's it for our second bulletin. Thank you for staying with us. After the breaks, Fiso sits down with African Alliance's Victor Langa. Stay with us.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.za.
Lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi
aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sente ukukhiqiza lokusebenzisa.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
All right, welcome back to the program. You're still watching Kusile Breakfast Show. We did promise you a very important conversation that looks at an economy where liquidity is tight and payment delays continue to weigh on businesses, especially small and medium enterprises. And then unlocking cash flow has become a central conversation in driving growth. Supply chain finance, or SCF, is emerging as a tool that can bridge that gap by improving the relationship between buyers and suppliers while also injecting efficiency and capital into the system. Let's unpack what that means for Eswatini as African Alliance prepares to roll out its supply chain finance offering. We're joined by Victor Langa, the General Manager for Asset Management at African Alliance. He recently presented at the Mbabane Smart City Masterclass on how financial institutions can structure innovative instruments to unlock capital flows for development projects. Good morning, Mr. Langa. Welcome to the program. How are you?
Morning, Samoa, and thank you so much for having me to lovely premises.
100%. It's such an interesting innovative idea, and it's something that I suppose you've benchmarked with developed economies. It has worked in other places, and otherwise African Alliance wouldn't adopt something that is, doesn't have proven record of, being feasible, right? But maybe let's start by understanding, because I try to do my own research, coming into this interview, because we're seeing an environment where many businesses are struggling to maintain liquidity. I mean, here in Eswatini, I was just looking at the 2023 SME Finance Gap report, and it says that only 25% of SMEs have consistent access to working capital credit.
Yes.
That's not a surprise. That's neither. That's SCF, right?
Yes.
Talk to me about what exactly it is and what makes African Alliance confident that indeed that this is the right time to introduce it.
Thank you, Sisa. I think to first of all to say good morning to your viewers at home. We are excited to be a part of this conversation today. I think the whole supply chain financing initiative from our end came from a need that every time we engage with our clients, every time we engage with a few people, there's a glaring need of a shot on the arm, for lack of a better word, to keep my business running. And there's nothing wrong with the fact that the commercial system, the commercial banks or investment banks like us in the country, we're not geared to support SMEs.
Right.
Our mandate is not there, and there's nothing wrong about banks being that way.
Yeah.
So we saw the opportunity to say, look, if we can do this to support SMEs, there are quite a lot of knock-on effects for this initiative. SCF is about making sure that there is liquidity in the system, which is the lifeblood of any SME.
Right.
And you look at in a situation where you have buyers and suppliers.
Right.
Your suppliers will be mainly your SMEs supporting larger institutions. And those larger institutions would have their credit terms. So if I buy goods from you today, 30 days, I'll pay you 30 days after invoice.
Right.
That SME, that smaller business is going to struggle. And it's not something that's only happening in Eswatini. It's happening all over the world because the system is not supportive. So supply chain financing is basically, simply put, is we convert approved invoices and we pay them in the next 2 or 3 days so that the SME or the small farmer or anyone else out there can be able to survive and be able to deploy that money and get back to work again.
And absolutely, I think it's very clearing, the long payment cycles, which are quite the thorn, for lack of a better term. And, as we look into local opportunities and market readiness now, in Eswatini, we know that SMEs operate within that cycle. Suppliers often waiting up to 60 days or more to, receive payments from buyers, particularly in government procurement. We've heard that, and it's been a concern for a very long time. So given that reality, do you see a genuine sort of opportunity for SCF to take root here in Eswatini? And what gives you the confidence that indeed the ecosystem is ready for it?
Well, I think that is actually, you're spot on, Sfiso. The opportunity for us right here is to build the ecosystem. because that ecosystem is very important.
So start by building that ecosystem.
It's the infrastructure is there from our end, but it's that ecosystem that you need. And I'll put it in a very, very simple way. So I'm very fortunate to work for African Alliance when we run a retail store, Pick and Pay. You have your supplier who brings about all fresh produce into our business anymore. The trucks, everything parks by at the receiving end on a daily basis, and we will receive that goods from the supplier.
Right.
And you wait for that 30, 60 or 90 days depending on your relationship with the supplier. Then the next thing that farmer or supplier, small-scale supplier would do will be to go and look for an overdraft to cover the short-term needs financially. SCF then comes in and builds the platform and builds the ecosystem where you make buyers and sellers, so those that have money, those that need money, to be able to bridge that gap. And that's why we're building this ecosystem. And this ecosystem is not only about just us giving money, even smaller business, sort of even businesses like banks and everything can participate in it in an instrument where now all of a sudden there's cash circulating in the system.
Right.
That's a key part of any business that is running.
And thank you for bringing it closer to the ground, because what you've done there is have made us understand that before supply chain finance, suppliers typically have to wait for invoices to mature, right?
Yes.
And sometimes they have to take short-term loans, as you put it, to stay afloat.
Yes.
Often at very high interest rates, right?
Yes.
Could you illustrate now with a scenario what that looks like before SCF and how the situation then changes on the model or when the model is applied, particularly in how it improves cash flow and strengthens supplier-buyer relationships?
Great, that's a good point, and that basically would define exactly what are we trying to do. In a normal situation, viewers at home would understand that, especially those that deal with larger institutions like us from a Pick and Pay perspective. So you would deliver goods. That's your job, because you're supplying the buyer in this case being Pick and Pay. So Mr. Lamini is a farmer who farms cabbages and supplies those cabbages to African Alliance, or to Pick and Pay.
Right.
When we deliver the goods, we will assume responsibility of the stock.
Absolutely.
By month end, we will then sort out all invoices that are due. Then the payment terms then kicks in. So we will pay you 30 days after invoice. So let's make a simple example. You deliver on the 15th day of October 2025, month end closes. We will then pay that invoice that's due on the 30th of November.
Yeah.
So you've literally given Pick and Pay 45 days with your cash sitting in their bank account before they pay you. And that's not wrong. It's normal trading terms between Pick and Pay and the buyer.
But that 45-day wait can be a thorn on your end as the supplier.
This is a small-scale farmer who employs people, who's got a tractor, who's got a vehicle, who's got all those things that actually needs cash on a daily basis to be able to sustain a business.
Right.
And cabbages, you need to go back and replant for the next, so that you become a preferred supplier within. You can't have just one load of cabbages and you are gone forever. Then you no longer become a preferred supplier for our business. But the quicker I get you the money, then the quicker you go back and replant. So you wait 45 days. So what's the temptation? The temptation is to go back to your banker and look for an overdraft facility or a loan at exorbitant price. So for an invoice that was worth 100 Malangen, if you do net, you're now only holding 50 Malangen, and there's no profit and there's nothing. And that kills your business.
Ooh. Yeah. Let's look at why Eswatini needs this now. Eswatini's GDP growth remains moderate. It's at around 3.2%, according to the IMF's 2024 report. And private sector credit uptake continues to lag behind the regional average, right?
Yeah.
Why does the country need this kind of solution now and implement it successfully, right? What could it mean for our broader economy and for job creation?
So maybe before we attempt to try and stack up the numbers to try and improve our economy, definitely we need a healthier economy to drive sustainability and the sovereignty of our kingdom. That knowing our country, we don't have that much of resources like any other country. So all the things that we do from a business, inclusive of SMEs, you need liquidity to be able to do so. So we unpacked the situation earlier before I answer your question, situation earlier where there's no SCF in between. Suppliers are frustrated. There is no system that supports their businesses. Banks are not, investment banks like African Alliance are not geared to provide working capital because remember, we're managing pensioners' money. Pensioners' responsibilities to pay liabilities, not to start up projects and venture capital. What then SAF does when to be able to assess the problem with the time lag of 40, 45, 60 to 90 days, which then leads to suppliers being tempted to get overdrafts and loans in the bank. You would have, the same system operates. Your supplier would supply goods and services to the buyer. The buyer will then approve the invoice. And upon approving the invoice, he will drop it in a SCF platform. And that SCF platform, we will then inform the supplier that your invoices have been approved. The supplier then can elect, if he's got 10 invoices, can elect 5 or 6 of his invoices to be paid immediately. The minute,
so now you're afloat.
So now you're afloat. So immediately the supplier approves, or so immediately the supplier approves those invoices. We as a funder, we will then pay those selected invoices and make the buyer liquid. In 2 or 3 days after he has elected the invoices to be paid. So now that's the difference. Remember previously, it was delivering goods on the 15th, waiting for the next 30 days to be able to pay. So you wait for 45 days, sometimes 60, sometimes 90, depending on the relationship you have with the buyer. In this case, is once the buyers approve the invoice, are dropped into the SCF platform. Within the SCF platform, the supplier is notified that your invoices have been approved. He will then go into the system and approve or select the invoices that he needs to be immediately paid. The minute that gets, we pick up the notification on our side, we will then release the cash to the supplier within 3 to 4 or 5 working days. So now this has got 2 advantages: immediate payment to the supplier. Supplier is kept afloat, so business continues. We now have given the buyer an extra benefit of dealing with one person that's being African Alliance. And you will pay me within the period that we've agreed. So if your payment terms are within 30 to 60 days, the buyer will only face African Alliance in 60 days. But the suppliers, the hundreds of them, have been taken care of along the way whilst we're waiting for that 60 days. So what does it then do to the economy? It stimulates economic activities.
100%.
We employ more of a Maswati. We generate more revenue. We pay more taxes. I mean, all these things start having knock-on effects in terms of what we would like to see. So our role in this is to make sure that the people that have money, the people do not have money, we come in between, we facilitate through our supply chain financing.
And everything just is kept liquid. I suppose it's ultimately also good for the SMEs to then scale, because they're also able to meet, the demand that comes in from other potential buyers, even from outside of Eswatini, which is also good for our export economy.
And also on that note, just to add on what you just said right now, from a supplier perspective, now remember how SCF works. SCF would work. So we will face the buyer. We do not face the smaller SMEs.
The suppliers.
So all of a sudden, your credit score and credit facility as an SME improves.
100%.
So when you were to go in as Mr. Joe Lamini from Louvre, for lack of a better word, the bank doesn't know you. But if African Alliance or Pick n Pay go to a bank and have a conversation, the conversation and the credit terms are different. Now, as Mr. Lamini from Louvre, wanting to expand my business, I can go to Pick n Pay and ask for reference. But because I'm an approved supplier for Pick n Pay, the relationship becomes different when you are dealing with the service provider.
100%.
So expansion of your business and
Makes
everything.
sense.
So it's got all this knock-on effect what we are trying to do. The risk of the money that we extend is we face the buyer again. We're not facing Babet Lamini from Louvre because there's no recourse for Babet Lamini basically
100%.
in terms of if he's failed to settle his loans. We are facing the buyer who has good credit score, good credit facility, and all of a sudden cost of capital becomes cheaper in the system, and that's the main. And then we now start to spend more. We start to develop more, and our communities actually benefit from the system.
Ooh, that's beautiful. Let's look at industries now, because when you look at Eswatini's economic landscape, right, as it were, you realize that there's certain industries that stand out. And if you're keen on listening to what government strategies always, pan out during the budget speech, there's always those, prioritized industries for economic growth, particularly. We look at construction, we look at agribusiness to manufacturing and retail, and those are always at the forefront. So which sectors for you do you believe hold the greatest potential for supply chain finance? And why do you think those particular areas would benefit the most?
You actually named the most, as we saw in your way. Our target basically is we're targeting quite a lot of the different sectors ranging from agri. Agri is a heartbeat of this economy. Manufacturing is the next big contributor to our GDP in the country. Logistics is an area of focus for us, and those are the sort of businesses that we believe. I mean, our GDP hinges around trade, manufacturing. Those are the core areas of focus for us. All we could be able to do is to try and make sure that the system is fluid, make sure that there is liquidity in the system to keep us afloat. Then there are opportunities for us.
Yeah, in your previous answer you mentioned something quite critical, that when we look at SCF, the benefit is the whole supply chain, as the word itself suggests, the buyers and the sellers. And I know we do have a slide ready to sort of, give us a comprehensive understanding of what we really mean when we say the buyers and sellers both benefit. Can you take us through how each party gains from this kind of arrangement? How does SCF make businesses, the relationships more efficient and more sustainable?
Well, you look. So remember, let's use Pick n Pay as an example to what we are trying to address here. So from a retail perspective, I'm speaking of Pick n Pay because it's something that I see and I touch and I feel on a daily basis.
Easy to understand.
Yeah. From a Pick n Pay perspective, is that business needs to make sure that there is availability of supplies for any customer walking into Pick n Pay. Your biggest driver of our revenue sits around fresh, basically, your bread, milk, vegetables that we sell. So from a buyer and supplier relationship, this ecosystem that we are trying to build would not only support the availability of your goods and services that you would require. It will also support the suppliers from them being able to consistently supply. So the challenge that we have, let's make an example of a farmer who waits for the produce. So for 3 months, you're waiting for the produce to be ready for sale. You have to wait for another 3 months to be able to get paid to go back and start farming. That is a problem in an economy or in a system that's dependent on SMEs. SMEs are key in the country.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that they have money. And the only way to make sure that they have money is through supply chain finance. And all of a sudden, they become preferred suppliers. So it's a notch up. You're just an ordinary supplier which just supplies goods. Now all of a sudden you're a consistent supplier with African Alliance. With Pick and Pay, you get to a level of being a preferred supplier. So that helps you expand your business. That make sure that you grow your business and be profitable.
You don't only supply P&Ps, you can supply all the other shops.
You can also supply the other shops, and you can actually prefer. So the ones that are applying the SCF, you become a preferred supplier to them. That's the one end of it. But there's also another financial opportunity for investors in the country through SCF. So remember, SCF is about cash. There's people who got money, there's people who need money. Through an simply orchestrated system like we are developing of transparent, and you can be able to see anything that moves along the value chain. The very same investor, be it a pension fund, be it a high net worth client who has money, is looking for ways of growing their assets. These are short-term instruments, for lack of a better word, like a T-bill within the central bank.
Yeah.
These sorts of investment are 60, 90 days, and you can price them and reprice them when interest rates goes up. So it becomes an opportunity as well. So for those institutions that are mandated to pay liabilities on a quarterly or on a monthly basis, here's another vehicle to be able to invest. So you bring this platform to improve the economy of Eswatini, but most importantly, you also get the opportunity to create another, for lack of a better word, another asset class that investors can put money into it and make returns that are in line with their mandate.
Oh, Victor, I'm afraid our time has run out, but that was very candid and quite comprehensive. I really appreciate your time here on the Kusile Breakfast Show. Victor Langa, African Alliance General Manager for Asset Management, explaining how supply chain financing could really remedy some of, really unlock cash flow, strengthen business relationships, as well as make Eswatini's economy more agile. Very interesting development. Let's go for a net break. We'll close the show with my co-host shortly.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.za.
All right, just 2 minutes before we hit the home stretch of the hour, 8 a.m. Central African time. Thanks so much for staying with us here on Kusile Breakfast Show. We just had a very important and interesting conversation with Victor Langa from African Alliance around supply chain financing. If you are a small business in Eswatini, you don't have to worry. There's a very innovative instrument that is coming your way to help remedy all those waits that you always have to wait for while your invoices mature. So that is going to be a thing of the past now.
Yeah, thank you for waking up with us today. Also, we're also joined by Dr. Thembi Nlangamandla, who's a veterinary officer at the Ministry of Agriculture. She did say that she pleads for livestock farmers to be cooperative as the ministry continues with their vaccination campaigns.
Yeah, they do not want to cooperate, and this thing, talk about shooting yourself on the foot, because it
so
then
quickly.
hurts them the most,
Yeah.
right, doesn't it? But yeah, this is the end of our program today. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you again tomorrow at 6 a.m. Goodbye.
This program is made possible by the partners of Joyce Meyer Ministries.
You know how hard it is to feel guilty all the time and condemned and feel bad about yourself? Jesus didn't die so we could just go to church on Sunday and keep living the way we used to.